Harold Patterson found the envelope on a Tuesday morning. No return address, no postmark, just his name, handwritten in block letters, tucked between an electric bill and a furniture catalog. He almost threw it away. But something made him stop. Maybe the weight of it, maybe the way his name looked, written by a hand he didn't recognize. He opened it at the kitchen table. Inside was a photograph. His son Nathan stood in front of a white wall, holding a newspaper. The date on the front page was visible. October 14th, 3 days ago. Harold's hands began to shake. For 3 years, 2 months, and 17 days, everyone had told him Nathan was overseas. Singapore, Dubai, Tokyo. His daughter Victoria explained it with practiced patience whenever Harold asked. His new wife Lorraine nodded along, always agreeing. But the photograph in his hand showed something else. Nathan wasn't in Singapore. He was somewhere with white walls and fluorescent lights. Somewhere that looked like an institution. And the newspaper he held proved he'd been there 3 days ago. 40 miles from Harold's ranch.
Before we go any further, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? What time is it where you are? Drop a comment below. That way I can see how far this story has traveled. Now, let me tell you about Harold Patterson. At 70 years old, Harold had lived his entire adult life within 30 miles of where he was born. He'd built a veterinary practice from nothing, serving farmers and ranchers across 3 counties. For 42 years, he'd been the man people called at 2 a.m. when a mare was foaling wrong or a prize bull went down. His hands had delivered thousands of animals into the world. His voice had calmed panicked farmers during blizzards and droughts. His truck had logged more miles on dirt roads than most people drive in a lifetime. The practice was worth $280,000 when he finally sold it. The land, 25 acres of Nebraska prairie, was worth another $420,000. A lifetime of work, converted to numbers on a page. His wife Rose had been his partner in everything. She managed the books, answered the phones, and raised their 2 children while Harold was out on calls. 41 years of marriage. 41 years of building something together. Nathan, their firstborn, had followed him into the practice. Father and son, working side by side, the way Harold had always dreamed. Victoria, 4 years younger, had taken a different path. Business degree, city jobs. She visited on holidays sometimes. When Rose got sick, everything changed. The cancer took 18 months to do its work. Harold sold the practice to be with her full-time. Nathan tried to keep things running, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. Rose died on a Sunday morning in March, 2 years ago. Harold thought that was the worst day of his life.
Harold remembered the last good day with Nathan. It was 3 weeks before everything fell apart. A Thursday in February, bitter cold, the kind of day that made your bones ache. A rancher named Peterson had called about a difficult calving. Nathan had driven. Harold sat in the passenger seat, watching his son navigate the icy roads with the same quiet competence he'd learned over 20 years. They didn't talk much. They never needed to. At Peterson's ranch, they worked together the way they always had. Harold's hands weren't as steady as they used to be, but Nathan anticipated every move. Warm water, clean towels, the right instruments at the right moment. The calf came out healthy. The mother survived. On the drive home, Nathan had said something Harold would never forget. "Dad, I've been looking at the books. Something's not right." Harold had been tired, grieving, not paying attention the way he should have. "What do you mean?" Nathan shook his head. "I'm not sure yet. But there's money moving in ways that don't make sense. I need to dig deeper." Harold had told him not to worry about it. The practice was sold. The accounts were closed. Whatever discrepancy Nathan had found, it was probably just an old error. A week later, Nathan started acting strange. 2 weeks after that, Victoria announced that Nathan had taken a job overseas. Harold never connected those things until now.
Lorraine came into his life 8 months after Rose passed. She was a widow herself, 58 years old, quiet, kind in a way that didn't demand anything back. They met at a grief support group at the Methodist Church, and something about her steadiness helped Harold breathe again. She'd lost her husband to a heart attack 4 years earlier. Sudden, no warning. One morning he was eating breakfast, and by lunch he was gone. Lorraine understood grief in a way that most people didn't. She didn't try to fix Harold or rush him through the stages. She just sat with him, sometimes in silence, and let him feel what he needed to feel. Victoria had concerns from the start. Too soon, she warned. Lorraine was after his money. She said a lot of things, always with that patient smile that reminded Harold of her mother. But Harold married Lorraine anyway, 14 months after Rose died. The wedding was small, justice of the peace. Nathan sent a card from Singapore, or so Victoria said. He couldn't get away from work. Harold remembered feeling disappointed, his son missing his wedding. But Victoria explained it so reasonably. International clients, important contracts. Nathan would visit soon. Soon never came, and Harold, still drowning in grief, chose to believe the explanations because the alternative was too painful to consider.
The consulting opportunity had come suddenly. That's what Victoria told him. International clients wanted Nathan's expertise. Singapore first, then Dubai, then Tokyo. A 2-year contract, maybe longer. The kind of opportunity you don't turn down. Harold didn't understand consulting. He didn't understand why his son couldn't call more often, why the time zones always seemed wrong, why Nathan's voice on the rare phone calls sounded flat and strange. But Victoria always had answers. He's exhausted, Dad. The workload is intense. He's in meetings 16 hours a day. The emails came regularly. Short messages that didn't sound like Nathan. No jokes, no personal details, just updates about weather and work that could have been written by anyone. Harold saved every one of them. Sometimes late at night, he'd read through them looking for his son in the words. Looking for the Nathan who used to leave funny notes in the truck, the Nathan who remembered every animal he had ever treated, the Nathan who called every Sunday without fail. That Nathan had disappeared. In his place was a stranger who wrote things like, "All is well here," and "Work keeps me busy," and "I hope you are doing fine." Harold told himself it was just the distance, just the stress of a new job. But something in his chest knew better. Something had been wrong for 3 years. He just hadn't wanted to see it.
Harold sat at the kitchen table for a long time, staring at the photograph. Nathan looked thin. His cheeks were hollow. His eyes had a vacancy Harold had never seen before. He wore a plain gray sweatshirt, no logo, the kind of thing you'd find in an institution. The newspaper in his hands was the Lincoln Journal-Star, not the Singapore Times, not the Dubai Herald. The Lincoln Journal-Star, dated 3 days ago. There was a note with the photograph, typed, not handwritten. Mr. Patterson, your son is not overseas. He has been at Prairie Ridge Behavioral Health in Waverly for 37 months. I cannot say more. I am sorry it took so long. No signature. Harold read it 3 times. Prairie Ridge Behavioral Health. He knew the place by reputation. A private psychiatric facility, well-regarded, expensive. The kind of place families sent loved ones when they needed serious help. But Nathan didn't need that kind of help. Nathan had been fine. Grieving, yes. Quieter after Rose died, yes. But fine. Handy. Harold's mind raced backward through 3 years of carefully constructed lies. The emails that didn't sound like his son, the phone calls that felt scripted, the excuses that came too easily. Who had done this? And why? He looked at the photograph again, at his son's hollow face, at the date on the newspaper, 40 miles away, for 37 months. While Harold sat in this kitchen, believing every lie he was told.
Harold didn't tell anyone about the envelope. He hid it in Rose's old jewelry box, the one place no one would think to look. Then he started watching. Lorraine had always been quiet, but now her silences seemed different, weighted. She took phone calls in the other room, her voice dropping to a murmur whenever Harold walked near. 3 days after the envelope arrived, Harold overheard her in the kitchen. She was saying something about medication schedules, about a doctor named Werner, about keeping things stable. When she saw Harold in the doorway, she ended the call immediately. Her smile was too quick. "Who was that?" Harold asked. "Just the pharmacy," she said, refilling my prescriptions. But Harold had seen her prescriptions: blood pressure, thyroid, nothing that required conversations about medication schedules and doctors named Werner. He started paying attention to other things. The way Lorraine handled the mail, sorting through it before Harold could see. The way she tensed when he mentioned Nathan. The way she changed the subject whenever Harold talked about maybe visiting his son overseas. One evening, Harold came home early from the hardware store and found Lorraine in his study. She was standing at his desk, looking through a folder of financial documents. When she saw him, her face went pale. "I was just organizing," she said quickly. "You know how I like things tidy." Harold nodded and said nothing. But that night, he checked the folder. 3 pages were missing, bank statements from the month Nathan disappeared.
Victoria drove up from Omaha that weekend. Worried about him, she claimed. He'd sounded tired on the phone. She just wanted to check in, make sure everything was okay. Harold watched his daughter move through the house. 52 years of raising children had taught him what genuine concern looked like. This wasn't it. Victoria spent most of the visit talking to Lorraine in low voices. They stopped whenever Harold entered a room. Twice she caught Victoria going through papers in his study. She claimed she was looking for old tax documents, something about the estate. But her eyes had that same quality Lorraine's had, that careful blankness that covered something underneath. At dinner, Harold decided to test something. He mentioned that he'd been thinking about visiting Nathan, maybe flying to Singapore, surprising him. The reaction was immediate. Victoria's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Lorraine's hand tightened on her water glass. "Oh, Dad," Victoria said, her voice light and controlled. "You know how Nathan feels about surprise visits. He's so busy with clients, it would just stress him out." Lorraine nodded quickly. "She's right, Harold. Nathan needs his space." Harold looked at his daughter, at his wife. 2 women with the same careful smile. 2 women who glanced at each other before answering his questions. He thought about the photograph hidden in Rose's jewelry box. Something was very, very wrong, and one of these women, maybe both, knew exactly what it was. Harold went to church that Sunday. He hadn't been in months. After Rose died, the pews felt too empty, the hymns too painful. But he needed to think somewhere that wasn't filled with lies. Pastor Jim found him sitting alone after the service. Jim Harrigan had baptized both of Harold's children. He'd officiated Rose's funeral. He'd known this family for 40 years. "You look troubled, Harold." Harold almost told him everything. The photograph, the suspicions, the fear that was growing in his chest like a tumor. But something held him back. "Can I ask you something, Pastor?" "Of course." Harold chose his words carefully. "If someone you loved was keeping a secret from you, a big secret, how would you know?" Pastor Jim was quiet for a moment. Then he said something Harold would remember for the rest of his life. "Harold, I've been a pastor for 38 years. You know what I've learned? People who are hiding something always have tells. They over-explain, they get defensive about questions that shouldn't bother them, and they try very hard to make you feel crazy for asking." Harold thought about Victoria's patient explanations, Lorraine's quick smiles, the way both of them made him feel foolish for worrying about Nathan. Pastor Jim leaned closer. "Your daughter came to see me last month, asked if I'd noticed any confusion in you, memory problems, odd behavior." Harold's blood went cold. "She said she was worried about your mental state, said Lorraine had concerns too." The pastor's eyes were steady. "I've known you for 40 years, and you were sharp as ever." She didn't seem pleased to hear it.
Harold waited until Victoria left. Then he sat Lorraine down at the kitchen table, the same table where he'd opened that envelope, and asked her directly, "Where is my son?" Lorraine's face went pale. "Harold," she said, "what are you talking about? Nathan is in Singapore." Harold placed the photograph on the table between them. He watched his wife's reaction. The sharp intake of breath. The way her eyes darted to the door, then back to the photo. The trembling in her hands. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. "That's not the question," Harold said. "The question is why my son is in a psychiatric facility 40 miles from here, while everyone tells me he's on another continent." Lorraine started crying. It wasn't the crying of someone caught in a lie. It was something else. Something that looked more like relief, or maybe terror. "I wanted to tell you," she said. "God, Harold, I wanted to tell you so many times." "Then tell me now." Lorraine shook her head. She was trembling all over. "I can't. She said if I told you, she'd show you the emails. Emails that look like they came from me. Emails I never wrote. She said she'd make it look like I was the one who did this." Harold felt something cold settle in his chest. "She?" he repeated. "Who is she?" But Lorraine just kept shaking her head, crying, unable or unwilling to say the name. Harold didn't need her to say it. He already knew.
Harold drove into town the next morning. He needed to think. He needed to be somewhere that didn't smell like lies and fear. The diner on Main Street had been there since before Harold was born. He ordered coffee and sat in his usual booth, staring out the window at nothing. Meredith Crane found him there. She'd been Rose's closest friend for 40 years. A widow herself now, she still brought flowers to Rose's grave every month. She slid into the booth across from Harold without asking. "You look terrible," she said. Harold almost smiled. Meredith had never been one for soft words. "I feel terrible." She studied him for a long moment. Then she leaned forward. "Can I tell you something, Harold?"
Something I probably should have said a long time ago? Harold nodded. Meredith's voice dropped low. That daughter of yours has been running this town's gossip mill since your wife died. Telling people you're confused, telling people Lorraine is taking advantage of you, setting things up so that if you ever said anything strange, people would think you were going senile. Harold stared at her. I've known Victoria since she was in diapers, Meredith continued. She was always jealous of Nathan, always felt like second place. Rose saw it too, but she never knew what to do about it. Meredith's eyes were hard. After Rose died and you were so broken, Victoria came to me, asked questions about your finances, your health, your state of mind. She was gathering information, Harold, building a case against you before you even knew there was a war. For what? That's what you need to find out. But Harold, whatever you do, don't trust her, and watch her back.
Harold drove home slowly, thinking about what Meredith had said. Gathering information, building a case. But Meredith had been talking about Victoria, and everything Harold had seen pointed to Lorraine. That night, he couldn't sleep. He got up at 2 a.m. and walked through the dark house. The floorboards creaked under his feet, the same sounds they'd made for 40 years. He found himself standing outside the guest room, the room where Lorraine kept her things, her books, her files, the boxes she'd brought when she moved in. The door was slightly open. Harold pushed it wider. Lorraine's laptop sat on the desk, the screen dark. Beside it was a folder he'd never seen before. Brown, unmarked, thick with papers. He opened it. Inside were printouts, bank statements, property records, a copy of his will, the one he'd filed after Rose died. And at the bottom, a brochure. Prairie Ridge Behavioral Health, Nebraska's premier psychiatric care facility. Compassionate treatment for complex conditions. Harold's blood went cold. Why would Lorraine have a brochure for a psychiatric facility? Why would she have copies of his financial documents hidden in a folder? He heard footsteps in the hallway. He closed the folder and slipped out of the room, his heart pounding. Lorraine appeared in the kitchen doorway, her robe wrapped tight. "Harold, is everything okay?" "Just getting water," he said. Her eyes moved to his hands, to the slight tremor he couldn't control. She smiled. "You should try to sleep," she said. "You've seemed so tired lately." Harold nodded and went back to bed. But he didn't sleep. He lay in the dark, thinking about that folder, that brochure, wondering what else his wife was hiding.
Harold called his nephew Tom that afternoon. Tom Reeves was a lawyer in Grand Island, estate law mostly, but he knew people. More importantly, he was family Harold could trust. Rose's sister's boy, raised right, no connection to Victoria or her schemes. When Harold explained what he'd found, Tom went quiet for a long moment. "Uncle Harold," he said finally, "this sounds like guardianship fraud. If someone got legal control over Nathan without proper cause, that's a felony. How do I prove it?" Tom made some calls. By evening, Harold had a meeting scheduled with a private investigator named Dale Womack, retired state police, discreet, expensive. Harold didn't care about the expense. The meeting happened 2 days later in a coffee shop in Lincoln. Dale was a heavy man with careful eyes who listened without interrupting. When Harold finished, Dale nodded slowly. "Prairie Ridge is a legitimate facility," he said. "Good reputation. But even good places can be manipulated by families with money and lawyers. If your son was committed involuntarily, there would be court records, guardianship paperwork, a trail. Can you find it?" Dale's smile was thin. "Mr. Patterson, I spent 23 years finding things people wanted to stay hidden. Give me a week." Harold gave him a check for $5,000. It was the first step toward the truth.
While Harold waited for Dale's report, he watched Lorraine more carefully. And he started to notice things he'd missed before. Small things. The way she left newspaper articles about elder abuse on the kitchen counter. The way she mentioned, casually, that she'd heard of families using guardianship laws to control relatives. One evening, she asked Harold if he'd ever updated his will since Rose died. "You should make sure everything is clear," she said, "so there's no confusion about your wishes." Her eyes held something Harold couldn't quite read. "Is there something you want to tell me?" he asked. Lorraine hesitated. For a moment, Harold thought she might finally say it, finally tell him whatever secret she'd been keeping. But then her face closed down. "Just thinking about the future," she said. "That's all." Later that night, Harold found a sticky note on his desk, Lorraine's handwriting. It said, "Check the guardianship registry, county courthouse." Nothing else. When Harold asked her about it the next morning, Lorraine claimed she didn't know what he was talking about. But her eyes said different. She was trying to help him. She just couldn't do it directly. Someone had her too scared to speak plainly. Dale called 6 days later. "Your son was committed to Prairie Ridge on March 15th, 3 years ago," he said. "Involuntary psychiatric hold, converted to long-term guardianship 4 months later. The paperwork lists him as a danger to himself due to severe depression and delusional thinking." Nathan was never delusional in his life, Harold said. "The interesting part is the guardian," Dale continued. "It's not you, it's not your wife. The person with legal authority over your son's medical decisions, finances, and freedom is your daughter, Victoria." Harold felt the floor shift beneath him. "There's more," Dale said. "I pulled financial records. Your son's share of the veterinary practice sale, about $340,000, was transferred to a trust 3 months after he was committed. Your daughter controls that trust." "How much has she taken?" Dale's voice was flat. "About $180,000 over 3 years. Credit card payments mostly. Luxury purchases, travel. Your daughter has been living well above her means, Mr. Patterson. Or rather, she was. The debt is mostly paid off now. With Nathan's money." "Yes, sir. And there's one more thing." Harold waited. "I found records of a doctor named Marcus Werner. He's the psychiatrist who signed your son's commitment papers. 6 months ago, his license was revoked for falsifying patient evaluations in guardianship cases. 3 other families have filed lawsuits. Nathan's commitment was based on a fraudulent evaluation. That's what the evidence suggests." Harold closed his eyes. His daughter had hired a corrupt doctor to lock his son away. Then she'd stolen his money while telling Harold he was thriving overseas.
Harold drove to Waverly the next morning. Prairie Ridge Behavioral Health sat on 20 acres of manicured grounds, a collection of low brick buildings that looked more like a college campus than an institution, the kind of place that cost money to maintain and money to stay in. Money from a trust Nathan didn't know he had. Harold parked in the visitor lot and walked toward the main entrance, but something made him stop. Maybe instinct, maybe fear of what he'd find. He walked around the side of the building instead. There was a courtyard there, enclosed by a low fence. Patients sat on benches or walked slow circuits around a central fountain. Staff in blue scrubs watched from the edges. Harold's breath caught. Nathan was sitting alone on a bench near the far wall. His son looked older than 40. His hair had gone gray at the temples. His shoulders slumped forward in a way Harold had never seen. He was staring at nothing, his hands folded in his lap,
perfectly still. Harold gripped the fence. He wanted to call out. He wanted to climb over and grab his son and never let go. 3 years. 3 years of lies and silence while Nathan sat on this bench forgotten by the world. But Nathan couldn't see him. Nathan was looking at the fountain with empty eyes, like a man who had forgotten what hope looked like. Harold stood there for 11 minutes, watching his son exist in a world of white walls and careful supervision. Then a staff member noticed him and started walking over. Harold left before they could ask questions. But he didn't leave empty. He left with a rage that would burn until justice was done.
2 days later, Victoria showed up unannounced. She found Harold in the kitchen, going through old files. Her smile was bright and concerned, and completely false. "Dad," she said, "Lorraine called me. She's worried about you. She says you've been acting strange, asking questions about Nathan, going through papers." Harold didn't look up. "Is that so?" Victoria sat down across from him. She placed her hand on his arm, the gesture of a loving daughter. "Dad, I know this is hard. Missing Nathan, not understanding why he had to take this job so far away, but you have to trust that he's okay. He's building something important." Harold finally met her eyes. His daughter's face was perfectly composed, the concerned daughter worried about her aging father. She probably practiced this expression in the mirror. "I found something," Victoria said. She pulled an envelope from her purse. "I wasn't going to show you, but Lorraine thought you should see it." She slid a printed email across the table. It was dated last week, supposedly from Nathan to Victoria. But Harold had seen enough of his son's writing to know this wasn't it. The words were wrong, the rhythm was off. "Dad," Victoria said softly. "Nathan has been worried about her for a long time. That's part of why he took the overseas job. He couldn't bear to watch." Harold looked at the fake email. Then he looked at his daughter. She had no idea he knew. "Thank you for showing me this," he said. Victoria's smile widened. "Of course, Dad. We're family."
The invoice arrived 3 days later. Harold had been watching the mail carefully, getting to the box before Lorraine could sort through it. Most of it was junk. Catalogs, flyers, credit card offers addressed to occupant. But this envelope was different. Prairie Ridge Behavioral Health, monthly statement. Harold opened it in his truck, parked at the end of the driveway where no one could see. Patient, Nathan James Patterson. Room and board, $4,200. Medication management, $890. Therapy sessions, $1,400. Total due, $6,490. The bill was being sent to a trust, the trust Victoria controlled. Being paid with Nathan's own money to keep him locked away. But that wasn't what made Harold's hands shake. At the bottom of the invoice, in a field labeled Responsible Party Guardian Contact, was a name. Not Lorraine Patterson. Not Harold Patterson. Victoria Ann Patterson. His daughter's name. His daughter's phone number. His daughter's email address. Harold sat in his truck for a long time. 3 years of careful lies. 3 years of making him suspect Lorraine. 3 years of playing the concerned daughter while she kept her brother locked away and drained his accounts dry. All of it, every moment, had been Victoria, his own daughter. Harold remembered what Meredith had said. She was always jealous of Nathan. Always felt like second place. Second place. Victoria had decided she didn't want to be second place anymore. So she had erased first place entirely.
Harold found Lorraine in the garden that evening. She was kneeling in the dirt, pulling weeds from Rose's old flower bed, the one she'd kept alive for 2 years because she knew Harold couldn't bear to let it go. He sat down on the bench beside her.
"I know everything," he said quietly. Lorraine's hands stopped moving. "I know Victoria committed Nathan. I know she's been draining his trust fund. I know she made you believe she had evidence to frame you." Lorraine's voice broke. "She had emails, Harold. Emails that looked like they came from my account. Emails about taking control of your finances, about Nathan being in the way, about wanting you declared incompetent." Lorraine's voice broke. "She showed them to me a month after you and I got married. Said if I ever told you anything, she'd make sure everyone believed I was the one who did this. Said she'd have me arrested, and you'd die alone thinking your wife was a monster." Harold felt something shift in his chest. Anger at Victoria, grief for what Lorraine had carried alone. "Why didn't you come to me anyway?" "Because I was scared. Because she made me believe no one would take my word over hers. Because every time I tried to hint at something, she seemed to know, like she was watching." Harold reached out and took her hand. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have seen it sooner. I should have asked harder questions." Lorraine shook her head. "She's your daughter, Harold. Who wants to believe their own child could do something like this?" Harold didn't have an answer. But he had a plan, and Victoria wasn't going to see it coming.
Tom Reeves drove up from Grand Island the next day. He brought paperwork, court filings, emergency motions. 3 years of evidence compiled into folders that told the story of a daughter's betrayal. Harold had spent 40 years learning animal medicine. He'd never understood legal language, but he understood what Tom was telling him. Victoria's guardianship was based on fraudulent medical assessments. Nathan had never been properly evaluated by an independent psychiatrist. The commitment papers had been signed by Marcus Werner, a doctor who had since lost his license for doing exactly this kind of thing to other families. The whole thing was rotten from the foundation. "We can file for emergency termination of guardianship," Tom explained. "Given the evidence of fraud, a judge will have to act fast. But Harold, you need to understand something." "What?" Tom's face was serious. "Victoria won't go quietly. She'll claim you're confused, that Lorraine has manipulated you, that this is exactly what Nathan predicted in those fake emails she created. She's been building a narrative for 3 years, building a case that you're mentally declining." "I know." "Are you ready for that?" Tom asked. "Ready to stand in a courtroom and call your own daughter a criminal?" Harold thought about Nathan sitting alone on that bench, hollow-eyed, forgotten, paying for his own imprisonment with money he didn't know he had. "I had a daughter once," Harold said quietly. "She died the day she locked her brother away." Tom nodded. "Then let's get your son back."
They arrived at Prairie Ridge at 9 a.m. on a Thursday. Harold, Tom, a county sheriff named Martinez who had reviewed the evidence and agreed to accompany them, and Lorraine, who had insisted on coming, who needed to see this through. Victoria was already there. Someone had warned her, maybe a contact at the facility, maybe just bad luck. She stood in the lobby with her arms crossed and her face arranged in an expression of patient concern. "Dad," she said, "what is this?" Harold handed the court warrant to the facility director. "This is an emergency motion to terminate fraudulent guardianship," he said. "My son Nathan Patterson has been held here for 3 years on the basis of forged documents and fabricated medical assessments." Victoria's expression flickered. "Dad," she said, her voice still calm, "you're confused. Lorraine has been filling your head with lies. Nathan is sick. He needs to be here." The facility director was reading the court order. His face had gone pale. Sheriff Martinez stepped forward.
"Ma'am," he said to Victoria, "I'm going to need you to step aside." Victoria didn't move. "This is insane," she said. "My father is being manipulated by his gold-digging wife. Nathan is exactly where he needs to be. Ask anyone, ask his doctors." Harold looked at his daughter. "The guardianship papers have your name on them, Victoria. The trust withdrawals went to your credit cards. The doctor who signed the commitment lost his license for fraud." Victoria's mask cracked. For just a moment, Harold saw what was underneath: the jealousy, the rage, the cold calculation of a woman who had decided her brother's life was worth less than her comfort. "You always loved him more." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Always, Nathan. Perfect Nathan. I was never enough for you." Harold felt something break inside him. "You were always enough," he said. "Until you did this."
Nathan didn't recognize him at first. 3 years of medication he didn't need. 3 years of being told he was sick when he wasn't. 3 years of isolation and institutional routine had hollowed something out of him. But when Harold said his name, something flickered in his son's eyes. "Dad?" Harold pulled him into an embrace. Nathan was thin, so thin. He trembled against Harold's chest like a child waking from a nightmare, like a man who had forgotten what human warmth felt like. "I thought you knew," Nathan whispered. "I thought you wanted me here. She told me you signed the papers. She said you thought I was crazy." "Never," Harold's voice broke. "Never, son. I didn't know. I believed the lies she told me." Behind them, Sheriff Martinez was reading Victoria her rights. Guardianship fraud, theft by deception, unlawful imprisonment, false statements to obtain conservatorship. Victoria didn't resist. She just stood there, watching Harold hold Nathan, her face empty of everything except a vast and terrible self-pity. Lorraine stood by the window, tears streaming down her face. Nathan saw her. "I thought you did this," he said quietly. "Victoria said you were the one." Lorraine shook her head. "I was too scared to stop it," she said. "But I never wanted this. I'm sorry, Nathan. I'm so sorry I didn't find a way to tell your father sooner." Nathan looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at his father. "Take me home," he said. Harold held his son tighter. "Let's go home."
6 months later, the ranch looked different. Nathan had moved into his old room, the one that still had his high school baseball trophies on the shelf. He was seeing a real therapist now, twice a week in Lincoln, working through 3 years of isolation and medication he never needed. Some days were harder than others. The nightmares came regularly, the fear of small spaces, the flinch when someone moved too quickly behind him. 3 years had left marks that wouldn't fade easily. But he was getting better, day by day, conversation by conversation. He was finding his way back. Victoria pleaded guilty to avoid a trial. The judge gave her 4 years, suspended to 18 months with mandatory counseling and full restitution. She was forbidden from contacting Harold, Nathan, or Lorraine. Harold hadn't spoken to her since the day at Prairie Ridge. He didn't know if he ever would. On a Sunday evening in spring, Harold sat on the porch with Lorraine and Nathan. The sun was setting over fields that had been in the Patterson family for 3 generations. The same view Rose had loved. The same peace she had always found here. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner," Harold said. 3 years, son. I should have known something was wrong." Nathan shook his head. "She was good at this, Dad. She'd been planning it for a long time. And you were grieving Mom. She used that against both of us." Harold thought about Rose, about what she would say if she could see them now. She'd probably say the same thing she always said. Trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. Harold ignored that feeling for 3 years. He would never ignore it again. Now I have to ask you something. What would you have done? If someone in your own family did something unforgivable, would you have the strength to fight? Have you ever trusted someone who didn't deserve it? Ignored warning signs because the truth was too painful to face? Share your story in the comments. Subscribe to hear more about families navigating impossible situations. And remember this: the people closest to us can hurt us the deepest, but they can also be the ones who save us. Don't wait 3 years to ask the hard questions. When something feels wrong, it probably is. The truth matters. It always matters. Share your story in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story moved you, please hit the like button. It helps more people find these stories. Subscribe to the channel and tap the bell icon so you never miss another video.